Okay, thanks for coming. This is the December meetup for WordPress Naperville meetup. This is technically also our informal holiday gathering. So after Daisy's presentation, if you want to stick around, we can, I don't know, if you have a silly hat, put it on, whatever. You can just be sociable. We don't have a plan for next month yet, but we'll figure something out. And for this month, we have Daisy Olsen, who is with Developer Relations at Automattic, which is, of course, the company that is responsible for WordPress. And Daisy's job is kind of to introduce people to different parts of WordPress they may not be familiar with, or to help developers learn about different features in WordPress. And so today she's going to give us a presentation about how to use block patterns. And I think you have hosting control, Daisy, so take it away.
I do. Thank you. All right, let me get my screen shared. We'll see how this goes. I haven't done a slideshow quite like this before, so okay. So I'm probably going to be looking to the side a little bit here and there because it's on a different display from where my camera is. But we're going to talk about tonight creating and registering block patterns for WordPress. Block patterns. Let's see if I can slow down. According to Justin Tadlock of WP Tavern, block patterns will change everything. They add a particularly for developers, site builders, theme developers, plugin developers, they add a really great way to create a curated experience for how you would add really consistent content to a post or a page. So we'll quickly go through what we're going to talk about here. We're going to my introduction, which is this right now. We're going to talk about what block patterns are. We're also going to take a moment to talk about reusable blocks because they're seemingly similar features, and there are some similarities and there are some differences. So it's helpful to be able to identify what those are so that you can know when it is appropriate to use one versus the other. We'll look at setting up a block pattern, which is basically done from within WordPress, by creating a post, basically. We'll look at registering your block pattern with some code. It's very similar to the way that you would register let's say, a taxonomy and a post type, if you've done that before. So the code is quite similar to that. And then we'll look at registering a block pattern without code, but using a plugin to add a user interface to the process. We'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. I will also try to keep an eye on the chat so that if there's a question that I can answer during the talk, then that would be good as well. And then at the end, I'll just put up some of my contact information, and I have a link to a survey. And these slides, they were really short until about 20 minutes ago, and I just expanded them to be a little more useful. So I will share the slides out to the group after the talk as well. All right. So what are block patterns? So block patterns were introduced to WordPress in version 5.5. So they've only been around for what, 3 or 4 months. But the idea behind them is that they provide access to a catalog of pre-made patterns. Other words that you might use to describe them, though they're not the official term, would be things like layouts, groups of blocks, pre-configured blocks, that sort of thing. And then the idea is that they would allow users to easily create and modify engaging layouts for their content. So an example of where one might use this would be if you are an agency or you are a freelancer and you're building a site for a client, and they are going to have a common type of content that they're going to use again and again. They want to have it as a starting point. So you would design it, you would configure it, you would have everything in place, and then you'd register that block pattern so that every time they want to add that type of content, let's say it's a call to action that goes at the bottom of their posts or something like that, but they want to be able to change, like to customize it each time they use it, maybe have a different tagline or something to that effect. This would allow you to pull that block pattern in with a click add or modify the content so that it's the way that you want it. And then it would all be just blocks. So once you add a block pattern in to a post or a page, it is no longer connected to the registered block pattern. So making changes to what you've added to your content would not affect that block pattern at all. So there are some links that I've collected here that'll be in the slides that you can go out and read more of the block pattern developer documentation if you want to really understand the code that goes into this. And then there are a couple of posts about block patterns. And then the Gutenberg Times website is maintaining a block patterns resource list. And I'm pretty sure that she keeps this updated over time. But reusable blocks have been a feature in the block editor for some time. Now, the idea behind reusable blocks is a reusable block is a block or multiple blocks, because you can save a group of blocks together as a reusable block, that are saved to allow the management of those blocks and their content from a central location. So if you make a change to something that's been saved as a reusable block, it will apply to every case every time that block has been used on your site, it's going to change it across the board. So it's centrally managed. So if you have let's say you have an about page or an about blurb that you want to use in multiple places on your site, but you don't want to have to go out to that every single instance where you added that content to update it every time something needs to change. This would be a way to do that. So block patterns are more like templates. Reusable blocks are globally managed. So you'll sometimes, global is a word that you'll see in a lot of the page builder plugins that have similar features where you would change it from a central location. And then I have a couple of links here as well. There isn't as much information out there about reusable blocks, which I was kind of surprised about. So now setting up block patterns. So let's go ahead and switch to a WordPress site. All right, can everybody see that green website with block pattern workshop on it?
No, we see Zoom and the meetup page.
Okay, let me reshare. Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so on this homepage of this dummy website that I set up, I have added all of the core block patterns that come with WordPress out of the box. So you have things like buttons with a title. There's a 3 buttons block pattern. There's a heading with columns. There's a heading with columns and images, and then they go down. So these are the ones that come with WordPress core at this moment. These, the content that is here is part of the registered block pattern. So every time you use it, you're going to get this exact content. So if I go in to create a new post, oops, I forgot to change this back. Okay, so we're just in a new post. And if you click up in the upper right-hand or left-hand corner, directions are hard, you'll see that there are blocks, patterns, and if you have saved a reusable block, it will display here. So I've got a couple of reusable blocks that I saved previously. If you hover over them, you get a little preview of what they look like. And then you have your patterns. This, as of a couple weeks ago, was just this endless list with a little headings in between the categories. But in 5.6, the one change that they really made was that, to this area at least, was that they added this drop down. So you have your categories, your block pattern categories in a drop down. So they're a little easier to navigate. The ones that come with WordPress are buttons, columns, gallery, headers, and text. And if you go through, what you see here in this sidebar is a preview of what this, approximately what this block is going to look like on the front end of your site, taking into account your theme. So I have the 2021 theme active with the green background. So you see the green background here. If I were to change themes and then come back here, it would look a little different. Themes and plugins can also register block patterns, and that's the case for 2021. So you'll see that there is a category for 2021, and all of the block patterns that come with the theme have been listed here. And the same thing goes with, as far as the formatting looking similar to the way it will look on your site. So, but if you wanted to create your own block pattern, you would start by setting up your blocks. The easiest way to do that is just to create the content. So let's say I wanted to have a table. Maybe I use the same table frequently, and then so I can say table column 1, table column 2, and then I don't know, maybe see if I can figure out how to do this. I can add more. Should be able to add more information here. Oh, maybe it doesn't matter. So basically I have a block here. I could add more blocks. Maybe I could say I want to have a heading block as well. Okay, maybe I would want to move that up to the top, which is always tricky. Sometimes it's easier to move things down than to move things up. Okay, so here I have a couple of blocks. There's nothing too complicated here. I want to make this my block pattern. In order to get to the code, I'm going to use the options, which is the 3 dots in the upper right corner of your screen, and switch to code editor. And here you can see that we have the code that makes up these blocks. It's not very complicated. Most of it is just HTML markup. In fact, it's all HTML markup. The part that lets WordPress know what to do with it is in these comments. So this is a commented out section of HTML, and it tells this that it's a WordPress block that's a heading block. And in this case, it's a table. And down here we have an empty paragraph. So if I wanted to register this block pattern, I would copy this content, and then I would say, never do what I'm about to do, because I'm going to go into the plugin editor. And I've created a very simple block pattern registration plugin that has a couple of block patterns already registered. And I will go over this code a little bit, but basically to register the block pattern, you have content. And all I'm going to do is copy paste the content that of my existing block pattern, replace it with this new one. There is one important thing, that if you have any single quotes, which is what I use for the opening and closing of this section, you need to escape them so that they don't end your code too early and cause errors. In this case, I don't have any. So I should be able to just save that. And now if I go to add a new post again, switch back to visual, I can open the inserter, go to patterns, go down to my custom patterns, which is where I have that. And here you see the preview of that block pattern that I just registered. So you have this is a heading, the table, the empty paragraph. And if I click on it, it just inserts it right into my post. And then I can go ahead and edit it. And anything that I edit here will only apply to this single post. It will not change anything about the block pattern. So let's go back to the code. I'm going to go ahead and present this again. Did that pop into place or okay, great. So there are two things that you can register for block patterns. The first thing is the category. It's very similar to a taxonomy. Basically, it's allowing you to categorize your block patterns so that they're easier to find in the future, so you don't just get an endless list of them. You can register as many block pattern categories as are useful to you. Often they will be based on like custom or something like that. So this is just an example that I pulled off of the developer documentation site. So we have an ID of hero. Oops, back. And we're giving the block pattern category an ID that's hero, which is sanitized. There's no uppercase, there's no punctuation here. And then we're going to give it a label of hero in the way that it would display. And then it's wrapped in so that it can be translated by or localized for different languages if you ever needed to. It's good practice to do that. If you're just doing it for yourself, it's not strictly required. And then the register block pattern code is similar. So up here, you're giving it an ID. Usually you'll see it'll be like my plugin or the category, and then you naming it my awesome pattern. And in here you can give it you can give it 4 things, and the category is not reflected here, but you can give it a title, a description, the content, and the categories that you want it to be assigned for. And that is added in as an array, so you can assign a block pattern to more than one category if it's appropriate. And you can see here that this code there's a mistake here, but the idea is that within the tick marks, you would have your code. The presentation software decided to be nice to me and try to format this. So that's how you would do it with the code. Not everyone is going to want to do that. One of the benefits of doing that, if you're doing client-based work, is that you can create your patterns in such a way that your clients can't change them. So I have spent my time in agency work, and I know that sometimes you just don't want to give that power to your users, that you just want to make it for them so that they can use it over and over again without the power to make a change that's going to cause problems with their branding, or that you have to go in and fix later. So, but if you wanted to do the same thing with a plugin, there are a number of these plugins out there. I think I counted 7 plugins in the repo that will allow you to register a block pattern in the UI. The one that I prefer is called VK Block Patterns. There isn't a lot to it. Basically, it adds a post type and a taxonomy, the post type of VK block patterns, the taxonomy for the categories. Most of the block pattern UI plugins don't have a category feature, so that was actually the reason that I chose this one. And if you wanted to create a new block pattern, you just add new here, and you set it all up just the way that we did before, but instead of capturing that code and placing it in a plugin or a theme, you just save it and then you'll have it available. So I have a couple that I created previously. So I have pet details. This would be something that you might use if you were going to have a pet adoption. So if I go into patterns, the category that I have for this plugin is called My Category. And here I have the block patterns that I registered. So there are 3 of them. One is called New Block Pattern, one is Copy of Some Block Pattern, and then the third one is off my screen, so I can't see what it says. But this is the pet details, I think it was called. So if I click on that, then it inserts it. And then you can see here, the way that I configured this is that these blocks don't already have a lot of content. They're just ready for content. So you could have a placeholder to add an image or a gallery or a YouTube embed. That would make it quite easy for someone to go in and fill those blanks. And there's in the chat, there's a tool to use to escape code, which is really helpful. I will add that to my slides. So anyone have any questions? I went through that relatively quickly.
I have a question. So in this example, you didn't finish the setting up the block pattern sort of. You sort of were just like, this is where an image would be. And then, so when the editor goes to add it to their page, there's just going to be, it's just going to look just like that, like a spot that's going to basically say upload an image, but with no like sample image already.
Right. Yeah. And that was a choice that I made. And I think that you could do it either way. So if you look at the patterns that come with 2021, they come with sample images already in place. And in this case, if you go in, the images for the 2021 theme are actually in the theme files. So they're just referencing. So you could, that was the reason, part of the reason that I didn't use sample files is that I would either have to have them stored someplace on that site or in the media library. And I felt that if I were going to set this up for a client, it would be better for them not to have to remove something that was already there. So, but it could go either way.
Daisy?
Yes.
You were mentioning that these patterns are associated with the 2021 theme. What about if you're using different themes? Is there an easy way to pull in block patterns? Are they shareable between themes?
That's an excellent question. Currently, if they're registered in the theme, you could go and open up that theme file, the files in the theme, and pull that code and register it in your own theme. There is not any other way to share right now. There are plans underway, development actively in progress, to create a block pattern directory, which would be allow anyone basically to create a block pattern, save it, and allow anyone to use it. So, but they're going to be limited to core blocks. They're going to be, it's similar. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the block directory. There are some blocks that if you search for it in your inserter, you can add the block. So this block for recipe is a plugin. This will allow you to, it'll do three things if I click this button. It'll install the plugin, it'll activate the plugin, and it'll insert the block into my content. So there are a number of them. This one, I have not really looked to see how many there are right now. I just happen to know that this recipe one is one. So they don't show up. If you remove your search, they're not going to show up in this list of already available blocks. But if you search for it, it will try to match something on that block directory. So the block pattern directory is probably going to be similar to that, but there's no plugin involved, because all it's going to do is take that HTML markup, pull it in, and plop it into your content. So that's how that will work. And that will allow you to maybe create your own block patterns, save them to the directory somehow, and then add them into your content, regardless of what site you're on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That plugin, the VK block patterns plugin, doesn't have a way to export either?
Well, it's just a post type, and I have not tested this, but I expect that you could just export just like you would for WordPress content. Just select that post type.
So if the theme doesn't have it, you could use that plugin or create your own, but
yeah, if they were your own pattern. So if I were to export this, they would be only the ones that were created with that plugin, because it's just a post type.
But that plugin is theme agnostic, so you could switch themes on one site and still keep the block patterns you've saved in that plugin.
Yeah.
Presumably, you could export them from the WordPress exporter.
Couldn't you use them from the theme? Like if you have an active theme, couldn't you select them and say, this would be my new block pattern? Or like go to the code editor, select it all, copy and paste it into that block patterns
you could
plugin.
do that.
And then that's the
That
way to
actually,
extract them from a theme.
Yeah, that would work really well. And if you use like a convert post type, you could probably convert it from a post to a block pattern post.
I love this. Thank you so much I can't wait to start using block patterns. I've been really nerding out about it lately, so this is exciting.
There was a workaround that you could use reusable blocks in a similar fashion, because if you, this is what people were doing before block patterns. So, and they probably still are, because block patterns are not, they're not a super well-known feature, but if you had a reusable block, you insert it and then you convert to regular blocks, then you could work with it.
But then if you wanted to change like the style of it or whatever, then you gotta do it all over again.
Yeah.
It would save basically that's just raw content after you import it.
Right. And you can create reusable blocks. They hide it, but there is an interface for this. If you go to the options within a post or a page and then go to manage all reusable blocks, then you can add new, and it looks the same. It's the same thing. It's basically a post type. You can save it. The way that WordPress works with these though is different, because it's pulling them in from that central location, kind of like it would for a separate page or a post. So, and that's the global aspect of it. So it's effectively embedding this content into wherever it's used.
Let me go back to when you showed that recipe thing. I'm not sure I understand what's happening there. So are you actually just imagining that you're just like, I just want a block that does recipes or like a book review or movie listing, and you're just typing it in, and then it's going offsite to some central repository and searching for something like that?
Yeah, in fact, it is on WordPress.org. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's block singular. Might be blocks plural. I know it's here. Somebody told me that it was here, but I'm not finding it. So there is a place somewhere on this website that you can go to find the block plugins.
Is it?
It's not block enabled plugins. That's different.
Are they the block library plugins, or is it a specific type of like single block plugin?
It's a single block plugin. They all are.
I had no idea that existed.
Me neither.
I think that you're not alone in that. So.
I'm aware of at least one recipe plugin that has created a block.
Well, there are a lot of plugins that create register blocks.
Right, I mean, or block pattern rather. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I did a search of the plugin repos code base, and I found a total of 23 block patterns across 6 plugins. And that was not very many. So my hope is that this will become much more widely used over time.
I've had good success taking a block pattern, populating it, and then saving it as a reusable block.
Yeah, And that has been the workaround previously. So here's I found the block.
Taking the block pattern, in a case where there are many reusable blocks that I want to have that have the same layout. So I start with a block pattern, and then once that's populated, save that as a reusable block.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, and you can use them together like that in whatever way works best for your site. So here's the list of the block plugins that are in the directory. These are all the ones, single block plugins that can be installed using that search. And it looks like there's probably like, let's see, maybe 100 and some possibilities, but you know, if you don't know what to search for, it's unlikely that you'd actually find them from within WordPress.
Can you chat that URL in the chat?
Sure thing.
So we can post it. Thanks.
And then someone posted the Gutenberg hub link. So this is actually a new one to me. So there are a number of sites that have tried to get ahead of that idea of a directory of block patterns. I did not save the ones that came up in my talk last night, but there are a few, and I don't know about this particular one. Oh, this was one of them. So if you have to install this plugin, Gutenberg Block Library and Toolkit Editor Plus, and then you can get the code for this pattern and import it into your site. So I think that this predates block patterns in the way that they currently exist. So this was a mechanism that someone came up with to create this type of a block pattern idea that could be shared from across different places.
How does stylings like CSS work with block patterns? Does it inherit from your theme, or can you include, like something like this has background colors and everything?
It's basically just a block. So anything that you can do with your blocks, you can style. So that varies from one block to another. So I could change so if I'm in here, I could change this to maybe have a different text color. That's not accessible. You wouldn't want to do that. And then if you look at the markup for that, you'll see what happens. So in this case, it's not actually adding the CSS. It's adding a class, has purple color, that's then handled by the theme for the theme to know what to do with. If you were to apply that palette color and then change themes, it would just go back to the default, because chances are has purple color is not going to be in the style sheet for your new theme. So, but your content would be safe. Your design may not be, and that is just the nature of changing themes. So some things would still stay, like your font size might be able to stay. It all depends on what your new theme is doing with the information that has been added by core. And then if you add plugins to the mix, then that changes a lot too. Yes, we did questions, so I could throw up my last slide, but if there are still questions, I'd be happy to stick around and answer them.
Is this what you do full time at Automattic?
Part of it. I do a lot of writing, working with the development teams to make sure that they have the resources that they need and that they're communicating well. But basically just supporting the developer users of WordPress, and this is part of that. Here's what I found. Siri thought that that was something she needed to respond to.
Don't you love that?
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is great,
You're
Daisy. I
welcome.
really, I don't think I would ever figured it out myself. There's so many little things to click on in WordPress now that features like this just seem to be totally hidden. So it's great to see it in action.
Where this started, there are so many more, and I'm sure even I don't know all of them. There's a lot that can be done once you know your way around, and the block editor sometimes gets a bad rap, but there's a lot of power in it, and it's pretty cool, all of the things that you can do, and you can do it pretty quickly once you learn your way around.
I love the idea of building little modules of layout for your clients, and then they can just use them without having to worry about tweaking column sizes and things like that by themselves.
Yes, yes. The more advanced your layouts, your block layouts are, the more nesting you have, the more more settings that are configured, the harder it is for a client to replicate that. And this allows you to do it without adding extra plugin overhead. There are plugins like advanced custom fields, and I think Pods is moving in this direction, that allow you to really like fine tune the interface for custom fields and to be able to create that kind of very highly refined content creation workflow for clients. But there's a cost that comes along with that. Every time you add a plugin, you're adding a little bit more bloat to the site. So, and a question that's come up a few times is that plugin to register the block patterns, does that cause a hit to your site's front end loads? And I believe I can pretty confidently say that it will not, because it's really just a post type. It is not loading that content from the plugin once you've used it, because all it's doing is inserting the code for the block. So once the block exists in your content, it's just blocks. It's just regular WordPress content.
Makes sense. We're gonna post these slides on the page for the meetup. We will also be posting them in our Slack channel if you can send them to me. And anybody who is not already in our Slack channel, if you would like to join our Slack channel for WordPress Naperville, it's mostly just us chatting about things and asking each other questions. You can, if you put your email address in the chat, we will get you added tonight and send you an invitation. I'll also post on the meetup page all the tools that everyone shared in the chat. Thanks for doing that, Jeff, Drew, and everyone. That's super useful.
Thank you, everyone. This is very, very cool. I'm really happy that I'm able to attend these meetups that are far away from me, because I actually live in New Hampshire. I mostly only reached out to New England meetups, but because I know Mike Hale from a previous employer, I thought, why not? We'll try this one. So it's really cool to have the opportunity, and the little bit of a silver lining to this crazy situation the world's in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks to you, and thanks to Mike for connecting you with us, and thanks, Mike, also for loaning your Zoom channel for the meetup.
No problem. Daisy, it's good to see you again. I'm cooking dinner, that's why I'm not on camera, but no, Daisy, that's great stuff. Daisy says nice things about me, so I'll have to send her a check.
Right.
It's good stuff. All right, well, I appreciate it, and I'll send the slides over in just a few minutes so that you can get them posted.
Great, thanks. Well, I guess that concludes the formal presentation, and we can begin the informal holiday gathering part of the meetup, which is basically just us talking to each other about things. So if anybody has any other questions about WordPress in general or whatever's going on that you'd like to address to the group, we have a lot of different brains, designers, developers, and site owners and bloggers online now. So feel free to speak up and ask your questions.
I just realized we forgot to do bingo.
Yeah, maybe for January, maybe like a new year, new format thing. Oh, I have my silly holiday hat.
Nice.
Scottish.
With the headphones.
Now we're gonna all have to go dig our hats out.
Mhm.
Go there. I don't think this one really fits on your head anyway.
I had so many questions for Daisy that were probably not appropriate to ask because I just want to know like what's coming up with, is anything being done about WordPress menus?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, menus on the one hand, they're terrible, but on the other hand, they've been the same for years, so everyone knows how they work.
They're so bad if you have a long menu.
They are. Widgets too, just dragging things up and up and up and trying to like tickle the top of the screen so it scrolls right.
And
Say
training
you've got
clients
a long
where to
menu,
find
you
them.
should organize it better. It shouldn't be that long. You know better than that.
I'm not
Point.
the content strategist
That's the
on
point.
most of these sites. And it's mostly like inheriting it, and then we go through and like cut everything out. But I still have to go open each one, delete, open each one, delete. Oh,
Yeah.
I just want to bulk select all, and then I can deselect like 3 things and delete.
Oh, that would be really nice. Yeah, bulk edit for menus. Something more like the post listing screen.
Yeah, that would be nice if we could also turn it off for clients. It would break it
Probably
so
would.
fast.
Yeah.
Stored somewhere in the database. I bet you could hack that.
Well, you can set it
You
to
could.
editor. Yeah, right.
I won't try that. I know my limits. I wish you could delete everything under a parent, like parent and all of its children for one menu item. That would be nice too. Let's just talk about what we wish we could have for 2021.
Oh, Drove's asking about what about blocks and widgets? That's a good question because with these reusable blocks and block patterns, the line between widget and block is so tenuous right now. And it's really hard to figure out what should be what.
Well, if you have a registered sidebar, you need, like, you can't use, like, by default, you can't. Is there a block for a WordPress menu? I don't. If there is, I'm going to go back to the site we were just working on.
Oh my God.
And update that. Because I just used the HTML block. I don't think there is a WordPress nav block. But you can do it in a widget area.
It should be. And it would be nice if you could use blocks and widgets.
Yeah.
Or in widget areas.
So I don't know if we have an answer to that. We can discuss it.
I actually have a question. Has anybody tried using Google's new programmable search tool as a replacement for WordPress's?
I thought they got rid of their search.
Well, no, they did. Well, no, in the distant past, you could use Google to do your searches. Well, and then they got rid of it. Well, now they've brought it back.
Oh.
And it's called the Google Programmable Search Tool. It comes with ads. You can escape the ads and escape paying if you're a nonprofit. So I was just curious. I mean, I don't know anybody who's happy with the way Google's built or WordPress's built-in search tool works.
It's sort of notoriously bad.
Yeah, and people are pretty happy with the way the Google search tool works, which is why so many folks were using it. But I do understand that it is kind of on the ad heavy side. But which you can escape, as I say, if you're a nonprofit. Perhaps you can escape if you pay enough money for it. I don't know. I'm looking into this on behalf of a nonprofit. So
I just opened it and it looks like it has all my old search engines I set up, back in the custom, what do they call it? This custom search console that you could set for that.
yeah, I think that's what
So
they
it looks
call
like they might have ported it over and
Mhm.
changed the name. Yeah, I had it set up for a couple nonprofits.
I do too.
Okay. And if you want to use your search tool and get the nonprofit rate, Google has evidently contracted with TechSoup to validate, whether or not you are really a nonprofit. And TechSoup is one of these. It's a company, I guess you could call them that you register with them, you pay your money, and you get really good discounts on software.
Hmm. It used to be that you would send Google your documentation, I think, and they would approve you.
Yes. It used to be pretty easy, and I guess they are outsourcing things so that they don't have to bother with it.
Sure. That's pretty interesting. I'm typing all this up so we can add it to notes and tell people that. Okay. I must be spelling TechSoup wrong. How do you spell tech?
TECHSOUP.
Oh, I bet it's .org.
I don't recall what their domain extension is. It might be .org.
Yeah, I think that's better. TechSoup.org. Okay.
I understand the paperwork hurdles with them are high to gain acceptance and entrance, into the program. But once you're in, I mean, if you're a big user, if you're a nonprofit that's a big user of software, then evidently you can save yourself some serious money.
Jim, have you worked on sites that use Google's? Have you actually used this yourself yet?
We're in the process of setting it up. So I can't say I have firsthand experience with it. One of our team installed it on his own personal website. We took a look at it, liked the search results we were seeing, and given our universal dissatisfaction with the WordPress internal search tool, we figured, fine, we'll just go, with the Google option.
So it's not, you don't have to pay, but it is ad supported if you're not a nonprofit.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a way. I think you pay to get rid of the ads.
Okay. I wonder if that's terms of service, maybe. I don't see any pricing information, but I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
At some point, they're gonna ask you for a credit card.
I don't know. I might be misremembering the details of it. So, but we hope to have it. Right now, we're just waiting for word back that, okay, you guys really are a nonprofit, which is a little bit odd that we're waiting, but that's because they're going through TechSoup, because we already have G Suite as a nonprofit, so we're not paying for Gmail and all the other stuff that we get. So
yeah, you'd think they could just look that up, but
different department, I guess.
Different parts of Google don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Neat. It's pretty interesting.
So it hasn't been out, I don't believe, very long at all. I'm not sure what kind of, I haven't done a search to see what people think of it, you know, in terms of what the general reception has been. So, but it's nice to have an option that's not a plugin, because as I recall, there were some search plugins out there.
I'm working on a site right now that uses relevancy, which is huge. The table in the database was like 800 megabytes. It just seems like it's really big. And maybe it can be optimized so that it's really great, but it seems like there's also the potential for misuse.
It could be. Well, I try to keep it. We've already got more plugins installed than I would care to admit to. And we've got some folks who are like, because we've got multiple WordPress installs, and we've got some people who are plugin crazy, you know.
Okay, this is going to tie in with my our sort of like not complete ideas for how to have a WordPress game show, but how many plugins does your site have is a good question to ask in the WordPress bingo or the WordPress game show we have. Let me do that.
We need a note of just.
I just
common
audited one with
phrases.
35. That's a lot.
I thought that's what I said. I was like, guys, I don't know if you have that.
And then the other thing is, how many of those plugins are by a person from somewhere who has decided to write a plugin? I was once consulting with another nonprofit, and they installed some plugin that somebody had written, and it was a free plugin, and it became critical to their website functionality. WordPress was updated. This guy was long gone. Obviously, the plugin stopped working. You know, otherwise this wouldn't be an interesting story. And so they had to run around like crazy because they were trying to migrate to their new site, and they couldn't figure out how to do it without this key functionality. So you've got plugins and you've got risky plugins that, and by risk, I mean, they come from an individual who maybe wrote a couple plugins, and you've got no guarantee that they're going to continue to support it for an extended period of time beyond even the current release.
Well, sometimes
that's anybody, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, it's more likely to happen an individual instead of a known company.
But even reputable people like what's his name, Jordy Meow, the guy who does all the like the media plugins, he has a plugin that, and he has a lot of plugins, and you know, you pay for them, and he stopped supporting one of his that was 3-4 years old, and you know, after 3 or 4 years, you kind of are taking your chances with any plugin unless it's from a huge shop.
Well, if you think about it,
just like registering a custom post type, stuff like that, I don't think those need a ton of maintenance.
Yeah, but still, everybody's got a limited amount of time, and if a company has got a suite of plugins available, and one of them is really not generating any meaningful income, and there are new plugins that they want to develop, they give up the least profitable plugins and move on to something else. And you just happen to be on the losing end of that deal if a future WordPress update breaks that plugin.
Yeah, that's true. Job security, because developers like us have to go around and update all those sites.
That'd be an interesting plugin, and maybe one already exists, is to have some documentation other than just kind of what it does on the plugins page. There's like always like the one-liner, but like how you are using that in the theme, that you can like sort of document, so that if you are no longer at the company, that the plugins you've installed explain what they're being used for, because you know, a year away down the road you might not be using an alert or whatever, and you still have it installed and you keep doing maintenance on it.
I think there's a lot of room for cool documentation for plugins. Like sometimes I just want to, like I want to just hit a button and have a list of all the plugins on a site that I can copy and paste, because you can't actually generate that in WordPress. And it's so useful to just be able to send someone a list of here's the 20 plugins on your site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my coworkers, it doesn't have anything to do with WordPress, but his current self is always leaving notes to his future self. Future self will understand what his current self did and why he did it. He's always making notes. We have a wiki that contains all of our documentation, and he's like, John, you got to write down what you did, because your future self is not going to understand.
That's my kind of thinking. I write down everything I do all day, and half the time I don't understand it anyway. But
at least you don't. As long as you don't start tattooing it on yourself, like
right, like memento.
Like tattooing it upside down so you just read
Right,
it on yourself.
I've got Stacy and Claire have heard this story before, but I've got notes for like 10 years back, and the point of my WordPress site, and I know I've not finished it yet, Stacy. It's still under development and it'll be out in 6 months.
Right.
That's like Rob.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah. 60 days.
But
60 days.
it's to organize all of that information so that I can go back and find it, because I take not extensive notes, but as I do stuff during the day, I write down what I did so that I can go back and look for it. And I actually have all of the files, but finding something in there, I have it.
You need a spreadsheet for your notes.
Oh, you need your own website of notes with Google search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trick is figuring out what keyword I used 10 years ago to make
right.
for today.
Oh, I'll never remember this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Recursive search.
I'm trying to put it in
your
posts
broad
that have
keyword,
tags.
get all your results, and then go to a next narrower keyword. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's called faceting, and there's a cool plugin that does that I still haven't paid money for.
Facet WP?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
There
like
you go.
I talked about this
now?
like every year.
Yeah, I love that plugin. Does everything.
I built myself well, you can't see it because I got the background. Over here, I've built my new server that's big enough to run this and a whole bunch of other stuff, but I've not gotten WordPress reinstalled on it. So
under that tree over there.
Yeah, in the river.
yeah, that is a creek. Yes,
it's water cooled, right?
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I don't want water in my machine, not unless it's a cray.
Yeah. Are they still in business?
No, Cray went out of business. They sold all the technology off to different people. Silicon Graphics got some of it, and then somebody bought Silicon Graphics and different pieces of it. I used to use those kinds of machines. If you remember Travelocity back in the beginning,
yeah,
and on a very high-end Silicon Graphics Cray-linked machines.
Wow.
It was just really cool stuff. Now I just deal with 20 terabyte databases.
Oh my.
On another
Nancy?
note, has anybody tried using the new Cloudflare plugin? Okay.
No. Have you?
Which
Is it
plugin?
good?
If you use Cloudflare for your content delivery network, now they've got a direct plugin into WordPress so that it's even speedier than it was before. So Cloudflare gets 2 thumbs up from me, but I've heard mixed things about the plugin. Evidently, it's great if
Is
you've
this-
only.
Is it a
Pardon?
new plugin? Is it
Yeah.
a new? Because I knew I had a Cloudflare plugin like a year ago, but I switched to WP Rocket, and I think they have a Cloudflare add-on, so I've been using that.
Several of the caching plugins do work with Cloudflare since they've become one of the really big players in the market. And so for my part, I've heard that if you've got one WordPress website on your domain, you're in great shape. But if you've got multiple WordPresses on multiple subdomains of the same domain, then I guess it gets a little bit confused, because they're also doing the DNS stuff for all that. And evidently, well, all your stuff is probably going to be on the same IP address. And so I've heard reports that using the Cloudflare plugin in those situations is problematic so far.
So I know that through SiteGround, they have I think a Cloudflare add-on. I don't know if that would be a similar solution to the plugin, but I do have a couple sites on WP Engine that are subdomains, and I use Cloudflare for all of them, but not the plugin, not the Cloudflare plugin, just Cloudflare. So that all works fine. So I don't know if I mess with that then.
Yeah, that's it. Well, the performance numbers, I'm very happy with the performance we get, because I'll use do web speed testing using overseas services, or I'll access it through a VPN out of Europe, and our website comes up in a couple seconds or less. So pretty darn happy about that.
Cool.
But you hear something that, oh, this is even better. And if it allows us to further reduce, bandwidth back to our server, memory use, and CPU use, then, what's not to like?
Is this the one here? I'm Googling and trying to find it, but here I pasted the link in there. Wondering if that's the one.
Let me click on that and see if that. It probably is.
Yeah, I'd be interested to try it.
It says it's got cache purge, which is nice. Cache is driving me nuts.
Yeah, so through WP Rocket, which I have, which works really well, they have a Cloudflare add-on, and it adds on a setting into WP Rocket where you can clear the Cloudflare cache as well, which has worked really well for me. Yeah, I've liked that a lot. And I've also bought a domain on Cloudflare. I switched from GoDaddy to Cloudflare for one of my domains, and it seems cheaper.
It is. We switched. It took them a while because watching their forums, people were having some issues. I switched about 20 domains or so over to them a year ago. So it's a definite cost saver.
Does the price, because I think I paid like $9 a year for the one I switched over, and it was like 19 on GoDaddy.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So they've really ramped up their services. And then they've also got, I run their, just for grins, I run their DNS service 1.1.1.1.
They actually just came out with that for the desktops, right? I just put that on my Macs too.
Oh, okay. Thanks
yeah,
for
you
that.
can put on your. Yeah, I've had it on my phone forever, but it's now on my computer. It's a free VPN, and it works well on the phone. It seems to be good.
Nice.
It was recommended to me by somebody who's very very much more knowledgeable than me at all this stuff. So
not VPN, but
them.
DNS.
Yeah.
Anonymized, I guess, DNS, so that your service provider doesn't know what website you're going to.
Sure.
Of course.
Right. Sorry. That's correct. Yeah, it has the warp. Yeah, it's free.
Nice.
I think you can pay for more. I don't know. It says you could pay $5 a month for something, but I've never gone over the data amount on my phone, so I've never had to pay for it.
Yeah.
Except if you're watching Hulu, that won't work. So don't try to watch Hulu. It says turn off your VPN. That's cool though. I'll check out this
What's
plugin.
talking about?
What's that?
What's the service you switched to?
It is called 1.1.1.1.
No. The provider.
Cloudflare.
This is that.
Nice domain.
Very imaginative domain name, right?
That's a parallax.
Is that technically like a subdomain of a subdomain of a subdomain? Did that work? No. Because they got all the periods in there.
Yes.
So I was curious, has anyone had any bad experiences with the new release of WordPress? I'm still holding out another couple of days before I update mine, but
It's actually been fine for me.
I haven't
Couple of little weird things on using Elementor. That's the builder I use. There's been a couple minor things, but nothing big.
Yeah, same thing with Divi. There
Yeah.
were minor things, but they've already coming out with fixes to things. It was mostly, I think, to one of the form builders. I can't remember off the top of my head because of
Gravity, Ninja,
no, it's called the Caldera, I think.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've had more trouble with Divi updates than with WordPress updates. So
what problems have you had with Elementor? That's the one I use.
The one that pops to mind is when you're editing, like when you're on your site and you're logged in, you've got your toolbar on the top. You know, you can click edit with Elementor on the top. If you're on article pages, you can't edit archives. You can't get to the footer real easily. You used to be able to hover over that and it would have a drop down of footer, header, article, all that. That drop down menu won't appear right now. So they just got to fix that. It's just been a week. So I'm surviving. I just, go the long way. But that's the big one. That's the only one the main one I've noticed.
Does anyone have enable auto updates on any of their plugins?
For some sites, ones that I'm not as worried about. My Toastmaster sites that are, only have a few plugins, I'm not as worried about. It was actually recommended to me by a programmer to do that, but I'm still afraid to do it on my bigger sites. Don't think I will.
Yeah, I haven't done that anywhere.
Yeah, I mostly have small sites, so I'm not afraid of it. But having seen that site that has 35 plugins, that would be terrifying.
Terrifying.
That's so much less maintenance.
I know. I can't wait. I can't wait for them to clean it up. But...
It is nice that it does tell you when they update and everything. You get the emails and all that. So it seems good. I guess it's probably better than getting, having an out-of-date plugin, as long as you look at your sites almost every day. Guess it depends on the situation.
yeah, and the nature of the plugin. So
And the backup system. So if you have automatic scheduled backups, then YOLO, enable auto updates everywhere.
So the only trouble I have with that is my site is a learning management site with over 400 people on it. So if I revert my backup, that means their progress is lost if they made any.
No.
I would only marketing sites. Yeah. Not e-commerce, no membership. Just
Yep.
to be clear, I actually don't have it anywhere. Except for maybe some of my little staging sites that I host on my own server just to test things, but it'd be a good thing to do on a staging site. So then when you do go to update it on prod, it's already done on your staging site and you can continuously test it. maybe.
Point. Yeah. So do you guys usually go like out to dinner? Is that the holiday thing? I think I missed it last year. So.
Yeah, we got a table at one of the restaurants that's near NIU. What there's like Rock Bottom Brewery
or Granite City.
Granite City, yeah, that's the other one. Yep.
Is that, are you talking about NIU at Hoffman Estates campus?
And Naperville.
Yeah,
Oh,
Deal
they're in
Road.
Naperville too now?
Yeah, I don't know. They've been there. That's
Long
our
time.
physical
A
location
tiny building.
when we did physical meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main campus is
DeKalb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they opened their first like remote campus was out at, I think it's called Prairie Stone, which was the big new Sears complex out where Poplar Creek, the concert venue, used to be.
That's out on the interstate past
Yep.
past IKEA. That way. Yeah, I've seen that. Haven't gone anywhere in so long. I've forgotten where everything is.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious with the more graphic design people, what their thoughts are with the new Pantone color of the year that was announced, 2021. Now we're hating it.
So boring. I mean, fine if you want to like decorate your bathroom or something. Like, it's just so drab.
Isn't it very sort of 80s, like very sort of 1986 corporate decor?
I don't know. I guess it's all in how you use them, but just seeing those two swatches there, it was so uninspiring. So.
I remember from last year, I was meeting up with a graphic designer friend of mine, and she was like complaining about the classic blue that was announced. And I actually created a website for with classic blue.
Blue is good to use. It's pretty consistent.
Because it goes to a
Red
dentist,
is hard.
so it fit.
Yeah.
But she was just like, God, it's so boring. Everything is blue.
Well, it's pretty, it's a color that doesn't irritate people.
Right. So I'm like, oh, this is new. Okay, let's see what the temperature is with the graphic designers.
Yeah, I mean, I love gray. Don't get me wrong. The yellow is a little.
It's hard
I
for
don't know.
accessibility.
Oh yeah, I mean, you would want to use it on a very dark background, but I guess it depends on how you're using those Pantone colors.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I had that yellow on a site, which actually surprised me. It was a client demand, and I was like, "You want a bright yellow like that? Okay, you're the boss." And it came off really well. It looks really classy. So I was surprised at how a splash of it goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go very far. She's using it like on the hover background color for her menu and in a couple of other places because it's in her logo.
Okay.
And so I get like having the consistency and stuff like that, but that's like not a color that's otherwise easy to work in a way. I don't know. I like that there's two.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but
I was hoping they'd go for like something more saturated and bright or vibrant because it's been such a crappy year. Like it just seems like they handed us like thunderstorm colors.
Yeah. Or like
lightning and thundercloud.
Aged plastic, like all the color all your Tupperware ends up.
It's like wrinkled.
Yeah.
You got to wonder what the whole process is that they go through to try and pick those colors or whatever. It's like, and their reasoning for it. It's like, what? You
like choosing a pope. There's just a bunch of people like sitting around in a room.
Yeah, I'm like, really? Okay.
Go back to the 70s and figure out who picked that avocado green shag carpet that's everywhere.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yeah, it's
You
weird.
know what? It was somebody who had excess inventory and needed to move it.
Yeah, that's
There
probably
you
what
go.
it is.
Well, this illuminating is paired with this mustard yellow that so many
Mhm.
people also had.
Harvest
Right.
gold, yes,
Yeah.
Harvest gold was a big thing.
Harvest gold.
and then brown.
Mustard,
Yeah.
and then painting your ceilings that yellow that you were talking about, Lisa. That was popular, what, 10 or so, 15 years ago?
So then when you smoked, you can't see
Right.
discolored ceiling.
Right.
Okay.
I've had to paint walls from
Oh,
certain
gross.
unnamed family members, and you can see the color of the new white versus what you thought was white. And
Yeah.
that's why my mom stopped smoking.
Hey,
Or-
that worked then, right?
Yeah. good
Yeah, 20 years now or so.
Yeah, that's always embarrassing when you clean something. You're like, oh, that's the color it is.
I just changed out a light fixture in our kitchen, and we took down the old ugly contractor light fixture and put up a decent LED fixture, and they hadn't painted the sheetrock underneath of it. The ceiling and painted around it, and we were
Yeah.
you paint first and then mount those things. Are you crazy?
Just
I
got a
guess you got to
new-
paint the
Shortcuts.
ceiling.
I just got a new monitor, and apparently my own website has a gray background color that I never knew was there because my laptop monitor wouldn't show it. So I just went to my website today, and I'm like, wait a second, that's gray?
That's
Yeah, that
awesome.
happened when I got my Retina laptop with the Retina screen. I had built this website with like this nice, really soft pale pink for the background color. And I go to the Retina screen and I'm like, that's like really gray. What happened? So I had to go back and fix it. It's driving me nuts.
Everybody else had been seeing it the whole time and nobody told you.
Yeah. I'm like, anyway. Does anyone have plans for next year? Something they're gearing up for?
Like plans. I had a
Yeah,
great
big-
plan for this year. That worked out.
having a big get together.
I'm gonna go hug strangers. That's my thing.
Vacation.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I want a vacation now. I'm seriously like, I just want to not talk to my family for like 3 days. It's just like, I'm like, can I just get in a car and drive somewhere? Can I just go park in a parking lot? What could I do?
Turns out the woods are safe.
Yeah, the woods are great. Yeah, it's just like, can I stay there overnight in winter?
Like this little thing behind me.
Yeah.
That was October.
That's pretty.
Summer in Australia right now.
Oh, I don't think they'd let us in Australia.
Nobody will let us in.
No,
Dang it.
couldn't even go to Canada, I don't think.
My husband had to quarantine for 2 weeks to go to New Mexico.
Oh, really?
It's not even across the border.
Now, did everybody get
Both it.
either your passports or your new decent Illinois driver's license? Because, you know, back in October, when they stopped accepting
Yeah.
the regular Illinois driver's license.
You know, I was in the beginning of the year, I was like, you know, I need to go do that because I travel a lot. But I completely forgot about it. I do have a passport, so I'm fine. But
Yeah, just keep your passport up to date. I've got to send mine in. Both my wife and I have got to send ours in. They've expired. They're 10 years.
Hey, 10 years? Yeah, I've got about 4 then.
I thought the driver's license one that got pushed off to like 2021 October.
Yeah, they did delay it because.
Okay, good.
Not that it matters.
We don't
Not like
have that. My husband had no trouble, so he had to take a plane and for a family illness. And yeah, you can still travel with your current ID until October.
I mean, it's not like I'm going anywhere, but you know, just the thought of not being able to. It's like,
yeah.
Well, see, I was all geared up to do all this stuff because I had conferences I was going to, one of which was in Canada. But then you know,
Yeah.
the world.
The dumpster fire year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a grandson that I have never seen, and hopefully
Oh no.
week.
Yeah.
We were gonna see that he's in Anchorage, and
Wow.
Oh wow.
here Saturday they're flying in.
Oh wow. So you get to see him.
Yeah,
Well, my
finally.
brother,
That's
my
great.
brother got married over Zoom. Like in
Yeah.
7 minutes, they were married. I'm
Wow.
like, okay.
Wow.
I've had two a niece and a nephew get married this summer
Mm-hmm.
over Zoom
Yeah.
or Facebook Messenger or something.
Yeah.
My brother had a wedding scheduled but just canceled it, so they're just engaged permanently now, I guess.
Mine is in August, so my fingers are crossed. We'll see.
Yeah,
what
good
happens.
luck.
It
That's
might,
that's pretty far ahead.
yeah. There might be like 5 people there, so we'll see.
That'll keep the costs down, right?
Outdoors, you can have 10.
That's true. We thought about trying to find like an outdoor space, but yeah, we'll see.
You could
Either way,
just
we're not pushing it a year. We're just gonna do it, and whatever happens.
So
Yeah.
you just have a party later on.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll
There's
have
gonna be a-
video. I mean, it's an easy way to get video of your wedding. It's just hard
Yeah.
on, you know.
There's going to be a lot of parties later on.
Yeah. The family reunions are going to be out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours got canceled in October, so it's been pushed a year.
Mm-hmm. So.
I look forward to like the work camps coming back.
Yeah.
We've missed it a couple of years now with
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, we have.
So
Yeah, I saw Ken's wearing his WordPress, his Bluehost shirt that he got from
Mhm.
WordCamp.
Yeah, I've got to get to another WordCamp so I can get some more swag.
Right?
The thing, there's no swag on the virtual.
No, there isn't.
Right.
There's no
There could
virtual
be.
swag.
The cozy that I use for my coffee cup is from Securi
Oh,
from
nice.
WordCamp, 2 years ago.
Got my hoodie. There's my hoodie. There's my hoodie.
I love it.
Oh, that's from 2016. That was the last one I went to, I guess. Nah, I must have got
Really? That's 2016? That's got to be like 2018, right?
No, this is 2016. It says 2016, but
Holy cow.
I must have gone to one.
I feel like that
since
was
then.
like last year.
I know, right? There wasn't one in 2019.
this year went so fast, but it was like so much
Oh,
drama at
every
the
day
same
is the
time.
same.
It's just a really weird sense of time.
So much drama, and it's like, oh, I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want a vacation. The whole going in the woods and sitting in a cabin for 3 days, just silently.
Mm-hmm.
Going from your home and hiding out to going to a cabin and hiding out.
This is different.
By yourself.
And the key is I'll be alone. That's the key. There will be no,
Well, with hotel occupancy these days, you might have a whole hotel to yourself.
I'm just wondering, like, maybe I could just go in a hotel room by myself. That would be like a vacation at this point. There's no 7th grade math in a hotel or things like that.
Yeah, you don't have to worry. I've been, at meetings at hotels where there was some high school thing going on and the place was overrun by teenagers.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yep, none of that.
So.
Well,
it's been a pretty sequestered year.
it really has.
But on the flip side, we all learned how to stay home.
Yeah, we can all do our job remotely, probably.
You know, I learned how to shop in bulk, which I was not good at. I was not good at that.
Oh, you just need a Sam's membership. You just drive over there and load up a huge cart. We've been doing that for years.
We finally broke down and got a Costco membership. We have a very small apartment. So we were like, Costco won't work. But there was a particular product that my foster daughter wanted that's only at Costco, some sort of protein shake. And so we crossed that line with our $60 and are now proud warehouse members.
Yep, there's no going back.
Yep.
Once you get that giant block of fake Gruyere cheese for like $8.
I buy Gruyere for this small for $8, so maybe I should join too. I
We
can
got a
get
great
$60 worth of cheese.
container of Walker Brothers shortbread cookies.
Oh,
$18. You go to Target, you get this little
Yeah.
dinky thing, and it's like $8 or $9.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
those
thanks,
things are
guys. I was
great.
trying to give up snacking at night. No, I just went out the window. Now I'm starving.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if we can't meet at a restaurant, we're going to talk about food.
Yeah.
Talk about
True.
food, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only
Wait, let
reason
me change my background to something tasty.
That's all right. You can dig in the bottom drawer. You can't see it. You can dig in the
Actually,
bottom drawer of my desk and find big boxes of granola.
Mm.
Oh, I have a chocolate bar and a flask. Wait, it's not
Oh,
even showing
geez.
up. Here we go. There.
That's a really good.
Flask.
You know, it's a holiday party.
I have just like piles of laundry that's like almost as high as this TV, just right off camera.
That
Because our
is
washing machine has been
amazing.
broken for 4.5 weeks.
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh,
That's
no.
terrible. But the idea that you have something that's not minimalist in your house off camera is just really funny to me.
Oh yeah, like here's a flash.
That's
Oh,
very
no.
non-Stacy. That's very
Yeah.
off-brand for you.
Well, it wouldn't be there
Of course not.
except
You're
for the
right.
circumstance. My husband threw all of the laundry that was in the laundry room into the office because the washing machine repair people were supposed to be here on Monday, or last Saturday, I mean, and they canceled because their truck broke down. So yeah, we're on 4 weeks and 2 days, no washing machine.
Wow.
Had to wash my kids' underwear by hand a few times so far,
Oh.
but we're supposed to get one tomorrow.
Yay.
I so hope the truck doesn't break down. It's so 2020. It just keeps.
Mhm.
Yep.
Never
It's the year
stopped
that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing laundry my entire week, basically.
Yeah.
This, I think.
The meme I saw today was what's going to happen when 2020 turns 21 and then gets drunk.
Oh, please don't go there.
Right. Right. What else could happen? Like, what else is there?
I just
Don't
had my
ask.
homework date
Exactly.
remind me that I have to go. So I'm with you, Claire. Can't wait for winter break and no homework. It's been so fun, guys. I always learn a lot from this meetup, and I look forward to seeing you.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Me too. I have to get going. Too.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock.
I have math help.
Return to our lives.
Early tomorrow. So I'm going to bed
Been
too.
missing you guys. I'll try to get back next time.
Oh, wow.
Sounds
I've got
good.
another Zoom call starting like right now.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect
No
timing.
rest for the
Oh.
All
wicked,
right.
huh?
Happy
Bye,
holidays,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Take
Happy
care,
holidays.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.